All right, Market Monday time, real treat. Today we got Max Gregory in for his first Market Monday. We go over a survey about buyers' expectations and how they're not based on reality, an article in the Island Packet, every number you could think about our local communities this week on Market Monday. All right, the Hilton Head numbers this week. What you take?
Well, Dan, it looks like we have still low inventory this year so far, just as we had at the end of 2022. Really, we haven't seen that much of a slowdown in demand, and I think we're positioned well for growth in 2023.
Yeah, it's rather remarkable, right? Like, this is the time of year that inventory should be coming onto the market, and we're just not seeing it. And as an example, this week last year, 65 properties came on the market, right? Because this is the time where people are putting their property on the market. This year, we only had 24 properties come on the market this week. So inventory is down so far this year by over 39%. But at the same time, if we look at sales, we had 45 properties go under contract this last week. So 24 came on the market and inventory was already low, right?
Yep.
And we put 24 properties on the market and then we sold 45.
So we're running at a deficit.
Yeah. So 21 more properties went under contract than we brought on the market. And so it indicates an inventory that continues to shrink.
Yeah.
And so that creates pricing pressure, right? Which pushes prices up, and it makes the market just all the more competitive.
Absolutely.
So there's a survey that was put out. It says, survey finds Americans wildly misinformed on the housing market.
And this, unfortunately, is not surprising to me. My customers and clients who I talk to frequently, they come to me with the assumption that the market is crashing, not just where they are, but where we are too. And as we just looked over the numbers, it shows the complete opposite. We're still seeing people moving down here in droves, and we did throughout 2022. And because of the inventory situation, I think we're going to continue to see that. And this concern could be alleviated if we get people the right information.
Well, that's why we do the show, right? So that we can get real information, which is local. You know, part of the problem is all of these surveys and reports, they're all national numbers and they're not local. And
Absolutely.
Things can be very, very different in a local market. Do you think?
All real estate is local.
So where do you think all this misinformation is coming from? People just listening to what they want to hear?
Yeah, I think in part it's the media and trying to get people riled up and focused on things that maybe they shouldn't be focusing on.
Yeah, the article talks about like they ask people, what do you anticipate paying for your house that you're going to buy this year? And it's like $100,000 less than median average.
Right.
One of the numbers that I thought was really, really, really interesting is when they polled 30 million people said that they planned on buying a house this year. And like the biggest year that we had was 2021. And I think 7 million people bought a house that year, something like that.
70% of people were not able to achieve their goal last year of home ownership.
Yeah. Americans, they want all of these things, but their plan isn't fully developed. U.S. housing market shows early signs of recovery as demand rises.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one, and I think part of it is mortgage rates. We're seeing mortgage rates start to come down a little bit here in early 2023.
Have you seen a rise in demand?
I think it has to do with the balance between inventory and demand. And in our area, I've seen demand stay constant, but inventory now is coming back down a little bit. With rates coming back down, we're seeing more buyers in the market. And so I think, especially as we hit springtime, things will pick up even more.
Yeah, we're seeing more website activity, more inquiries. I think even the national, the Zillows and the Realtor.com, they're reporting more website activity. So why? Is it interest rates? Yeah, probably. They've come down a little bit. It's probably less about how much they're coming down and more the fact that we're just getting used to them.
I think so too.
Right?
I think so too, because they've been, ever since the Fed started rates, people have had time to get acclimated to the new rates, and it's kind of the new normal.
I mean, the previous article that we were talking about expectations, over the last 50 years, the average mortgage rate over the last 50 years was 7.75. We haven't even reached that number, and that's the average.
Exactly, and a lot of people are led to believe that we're at unprecedented rates, which is just not true.
They are. They're unprecedented low.
Right, exactly.
Right? They're just higher than where they were a year ago, and there's a shock factor that's built into that. Our memory is such a short-term memory interest rates in the low sixes are incredibly low interest rates. Right?
Absolutely.
This last article from the Island Packet, Beaufort County communities where home prices are skyrocketing and where they're lagging. I've never seen an article with this many top 10 lists in it for highest price, lowest price, most appreciation, least appreciation, most appreciation since 2018, least appreciation since 2021. Like, what's the takeaway of this, I don't know how many page article. I mean, there's lots of numbers in here, Matt.
Yeah, for me, there's a couple takeaways. One, I find it interesting they use the word lagging because the communities that they say are lagging in demand and prices, I don't see a lag. They're still in double-digit returns.
Yeah, I highlighted two things in here on this first page, and it says the 10 most expensive communities increased by 66.4%. The 10 least expensive increased by 54.5%.
Absolutely.
So
yeah,
they're
not
both
a huge gap.
numbers. Yeah. They're both huge numbers.
The second thing I see is a lot of the communities experiencing very high growth are communities that are mainly residential communities where there's less short-term rental activity, and I think that's a sign that a lot of folks who are coming down here are looking for homes. And maybe when I said we entered a new normal, I think that having more people who want to be here long-term is going to cause less turnover, and we've really matured as a community in that sense. So I think that's going to lead to more long-term inventory shortages as well.
Yeah, it's very different than the lead-in to 2007, 2008 crash, where the majority of that purchase activity were investors, people looking to rent the homes when they're not using it. This boom, we've seen people take rental properties off the rental market to occupy them full time.
Absolutely.
Right? And so you're saying what you're seeing in here is a trend that the communities that are doing the best are the ones that don't allow short-term rentals because it's a different buyer this time.
I think so.
Some of the numbers don't make any sense too. We were talking before, as an example, it says that the average selling price for homes in Forest Beach, and they continue to use the word homes, it was like $487,000. And you can't buy a home in Forest Beach under $1 million, right? So they're lumping condominiums in there. They're taking Forest Beach and what we think is the areas where the homes are close to the beach. They're expanding that all the way back out towards USCB on Hilton Head Island and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Mailbag question this week. Any update on the new bridge? Haven't heard anything since the fall of last year. Do you feel like the town is dragging their feet on this, or is it just me?
So I don't think the town is dragging their feet. In fact, we had the town manager come and speak to us a couple weeks ago, and we talked to, it's Mark Orlando, and he described the situation a little bit. And they're really trying to strike that balance between accommodating the growth we've experienced and accommodating that traffic that comes along with it, as well as the people who've been here for a long time, and how it'll impact those people.
We have a new mayor too, right? So he's getting his arms, I'm sure, around a lot of it. My understanding was the last fall they did agree to a 6-lane bridge, but between agreeing to it and getting started, there's a lot that needs to happen with funding and land acquisition and all that kind of stuff. So as far as I know, it's still on track. I haven't heard any big news about it lately either. Thanks for joining me for Market Monday, your first Market Monday with me.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you coming in.